Hi there guys, it's Baxter here. Today I'm going to be doing some cooking. I've had a pretty heavy day, heavy back day, so I'm still a bit lightheaded and shaky, and got a little bit of a cold coming on, so it doesn't help, but I try to sweat it out. Done the workout in a hoodie today, so trying to get it out of me. Today we're going to be doing some steak and sweet potato. Now, I've been asked by this from a friend at work who really wants to not know about how to cook a steak, but I'll show you that as well. But mainly to how to cook the sweet potato. So I'm going to do it the way I sometimes do it. I'm going to do some chunky sweet potato chips, and also, like I said, I'm going to do some steak. And yeah, let's get cracking. For sweet potato, the most important thing is a really sharp knife. Now this is a solid, very solid knife, but it needs to be extra sharp. Now, I don't know whether you guys have ever sharpened a knife before. I mean, this is a steel. You can pick them up for quite cheap, you know, £10, something like that. But it's just got grooves on, so it helps sharpen that blade. Now, the way I've done it always, even back when I was in the kitchens and stuff, is I've always went outwards. So you always keep your grip nice and firm, and keep your thumb and fingers behind that stop, because that will stop the blade from cutting you. Then you start at the bottom and you work out, and again coming up. Now the best thing to do is hold this, your right arm or your left arm, depending on what hands you use. I'm left-handed, so I hold it in my right arm and I keep it nice and tight onto the body, and I just go away at it like that. Okay, so that's nice and sharp. Let's get on with the cooking. Alright, so I just bought these from, I think it was Waitrose, but you usually have to buy them from any kind of like supermarket or market. Depends what I'm doing that day, so whereabouts I am. So these here, nice, good sized sweet potatoes, and we're going to do some chips with these. So we're going to basically do some nice sweet potato fries. Going to roast them off and put a little bit of seasonings on them, and it should be perfect. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to peel them. I think most of the flavour is in the skin. I might take off a few little bits and bobs where they've possibly been bruised, but other than that, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to chop them up. Okay, right, I'll come back to you and I've washed them up. Right, so before we start, I've just washed the board down slightly, just because they have got a little bit of soil on them, so, and I put them on straight away, so wash that down. And what I've also got is a crock box, so just well, we used to have boxes, but in this video we're using a little bowl. That's going to be where all the rubbish is, and then we're going to keep this one for where we're actually going to put the fries in, and we're going to season them and mix them in that there. Alright, so we'll get started. Basically, like I said, I'm just taking off a few of the like kind of bad bits. I'm not going to go overboard because I don't think much of these are bad, in all honesty. It's just aesthetics really. Take that a little bit off. Down a little bit deeper. So again, with any kind of eyes like that, you can either use a knife. It will be a bit dangerous. So what I do, spoon, and you just dig it out and go as far as you need to. Seems to be going forever. Right, there you go. So I've taken off the little bits here and there. Now, anybody who's ever cut up a sweet potato knows that it's quite a hard thing to do. It's quite hard. You'll force a lot. That's why, like I said, you keep a nice sharp blade. But what you want to do is you want to start off with a nice flat edge. So you get to one side and you just slice off that little bit, so it's not going to move about in the cutting process. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do nice chunky fries. There's no point in doing small stringy stuff. And it's going to look nicer as well, a bit more rustic. but the cooking time will depend on how big you do cut them. I'm going to go nice lengthways like that. Might trim them down a little bit more, depending if they are a little bit oversized. I'm going to put them in there. But like I said, you just want to have a nice even kind of cutting, so they all cook at the same time. Because nothing worse than one going really hard, another one being soft. So, and again, be nice and careful. You have got a very sharp knife, or hopefully you have. So, you know, don't want to cut yourselves. And I'll come back to you when I've done. Another tip, guys, when you are cutting them, because I've cut them up now into nice chunky chips, but whenever you're doing something that's quite hard to cut, or only in all honesty just for safety reasons, use a bit of a bigger board. Don't use a small board if you can help it, if you've got the space. And also always put something down. Now I've got like some little like a Teflon kind of material here, which, or you can just like wet a tea towel, a cloth, or even like just some paper, like paper towels. But it just means that the board's going to be nice and stable, so again, you're not going to be rolling out, and usually cuts happen when you slip. So not necessarily when you're not concentrating, it's when you slip. If you've got a very blunt knife like this isn't, and you're really struggling and putting a lot of pressure into it, that's where a slip happens and then you lose a little bit of skin. Right, so we've cut them up now. We put the oven on at gas mark 5, or about, again, 200 degrees. Well, 180 to 200, that's kind of roughly where you want to be. You can pre-boil them or like steam them so they're a bit softer. However, I'm one of those kind of guys who doesn't really have time for doing all those pans and stuff like that, so I'm just going to put them straight in. Before I do that, I get some non-stick spray again. Only 1 calorie each spray, so you know, you may want to just nice and line the pan, just so again it's not going to stick or anything like that. So plop them in. You can get a bigger one, you don't want them to overlap too much, again, because it's going to affect the cooking time, but it shouldn't be too bad. Then a good amount of seasoning on these now is awesome. A little bit of salt on there. Again, this is Himalayan salt. The pink stuff that you see in Holland Barrett and other like nice foodie places. Some cracked pepper. Now I like to be generous on this because I love pepper on like sweet potato. I think it really brings out the flavour, and because sweet potato is quite sweet in general compared to a normal potato, I think the kind of the hotness, the heat from the pepper comes out really well. And the last but not least, coconut oil. Now usually coconut oil is not liquid. The place I bought it from, Holland Barrett, is actually very hot at the minute and the aircon isn't working properly. So all coconut oil is actually oil. And unfortunately it's never actually went back up, like back to the solid. I'm not too fussed though, I like to use it in that form anyway. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a spoon. I'm just going to drizzle some across. Again, it's not really going to matter too much with like the kind of the amount of like macros and stuff like that, because of this is going to last a couple of days, or depending on how you eat it. Last me a couple of meals. But there we go. So just want to drizzle it over. It's just under 4 spoons or something like that. Right. Put that on there. And last but not least, you can use many different herbs and stuff like that. Today I'm going to be using thyme. I think thyme goes really well with sweet potato in general. But it's going to also be nice with what I'm going to accompany it with as well. which is going to be steak. So sprinkle that on. Again, because I put the oil on first, the coconut oil, what's going to happen is it's actually going to stick a little bit better to the sweet potato, which is going to make it really nice and aromatic. And trust me, like, if I could smell right now, you'd be smelling nice. Now do. Alright, pop that in the oven, and all you want to do is basically just keep on turning it. Like, I usually leave it for about 20 minutes, let it have a good cook, then turn it about, turn it over, and then do some more cooking there, 20 minutes, and then check it. I just go until they're soft, or just about soft, or going crispy. Right, so I'm just taking them out of the oven. I'm just about to turn them again before putting them back in. But as you can see already, you know, we're starting to get a little bit of colouring on the end there. So, and it's quite soft. I mean, it's a little bit soft. It's a little bit of give. So we're probably going to only give them another 10 minutes or so, and probably see how they're doing then. Right then, so the next job to do, as we're doing steak and sweet potato, is a steak. Now, this is just a nice ribeye beef steak, and I got it from musclefoods.co.uk or .com. I've always had amazing steaks from them. Don't get me wrong, I've been to the butchers, I've done that whole kind of thing, but the steaks have never done me wrong at all. They're very tender, very succulent. So I'm going to open this up for you, or for me, bless you. Now what you want in a steak is you want a good amount of marbling throughout. Now I don't know whether you can see or not, but you know, there's just like slight bits of fat that just marbles through the meat, and it's beautiful. Like, that's what gives the flavour, and it keeps it moist. Now you can trim off like the edge, which is what I probably will do, just because it's not that attractive, but I will leave this on because it does keep the steak, this bit here, because it keeps the steak together, because if not, the steak will move, like, you know, will just expand a little bit differently in the cooking. So, but I'll trim it first, and then it's literally, I'm not going to lie, that's all I'm going to trim off of that. One bit off of that whole steak. Pretty damn good if I'm to be honest with you. They do beautiful steaks at Muscle Foods. Right, so that being the case, I'm just going to wash my hands. Now, with steak, you want to have it at room temperature. So I've had this steak out for about like an hour, half an hour to an hour, just while I've been prepping other things. So it wants to be at room temperature. This means that the cooking time is going to be a little bit better. And also, if you are liking it rare, it's not going to be like cold inside, because that's not what you want. Now, with this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to season it. As I've said before, I do like pepper, so I'm going to put a good bit of pepper on that. Again, it also gives it a nice crust as well, so pat that in, then turn over, don't panic, I'll wipe that off, and then we're going to do a very smidgen of salt, because this is where it can go all wrong. If you put too much salt on a steak, it kind of ruins and takes away a lot of the flavour. A salt should only be an enhancer, it shouldn't be the be all and end all. So, however, any good restaurant, you shouldn't have to have salt on the tables. Doesn't matter what people say, the chef should be able to do it perfectly. Right, so what I'm going to be using again, some like non-stick, like, you know, 1 calorie oil, just to spray the pan down with. The sweet potatoes are nearly done, so let's get cooking this steak. You'll need some kind of like fish slice or maybe tongs, and you'll need a nice, good, heavy base pan. Now I've got this non-stick pan, so I do most of my cooking in it, in all honesty. Now you want that to heat up, and you want it to get really nice and hot. The reason being is you want to sear the flavour in as soon as possible. As soon as that meat hits the pan, it should go tss and make a nice sound, and that will sear the flavour in. Now, like I said, I'm going to use a little bit of the spray. Again, it's only 1 calorie, but you don't want to go overboard, but you don't want the meat to stick. Now, that's coming up to temperature. With any kind of spray or anything like that, you know, it will go see-through. Now you can touch the pan. I would not recommend it, but you know, you can always just hold your hand over there. If it's really hot, if you can't hold your hand over there for long, then you know you're probably good. Right then, heat up a little bit more. It's almost there. Yeah, it's almost there. Now when you put the steak in, I always recommend to lay it away from you, just in case there is any splashback. There shouldn't be, but there you go. Now this steak will not take that long, in all honesty. I'm just going to turn that oven off for the chips there. Now this steak should not take long at all. It's probably going to take roughly a minute on this side, a minute on the other side, and then I turn it off. I let it rest. So you can put it on your phone or anything like that. I've got a phone next to me there. But you can just time it about a minute. What you'll see is again it will start to cook and it will start to come up at the sides, and then you just turn it over. Now again, use a fish slice or something like that so it's easier and you don't burn yourself. It's smoking a little bit now, so I'm just going to turn it down slightly. Don't panic, that's just water evaporating as well. So we're almost there. Just going to lift it up and again lay it away from you. So that's nicely caramelised. It hasn't went too dark or anything like that. That's going to be beautiful in a second. So again, leave it for a minute. It's cooked on both sides now, and like I said, you know, it's got a nice like little bit of browning on both sides. That's just the caramelisation of some of the sugars. Now the way to tell what steak, you know, how it's cooked. There's many different ways you can do it. You can do it by time. I do it by the hand method. Like you can actually basically, it's the pinch. So when you press the steak after it's rested, which it will do, like while it's just going to continue cooking slowly there. So once it's rested, if you just feel that part of your thumb there, a nice meaty bit. Now it doesn't work with everybody. Now if you're a plumber or if you use your grip a lot, this will not work. You know, your thumb will be too, like that won't be squidgy enough at all. But that there is rare, then you go medium, and then you go to well done and just cremate it pretty much. So I always do mine to medium. I don't like mine overcooked. I think when you overcook the meat, it ruins the flavour, but hey ho, it's not the end of the world. So I'm just going to let that continue cooking, slightly rested. I might even take that out of the pan now and put it on a plate, just so it rests. Now when you're resting the meat, it actually allows all those juices to soak back into the meat. When you cook it, basically they all want to escape. When you rest, they all want to come back in. So it's always good to rest your meats. Right then guys, okay. It is assembly time. Now, all these foods are quite hot, but I am going to do it with my fingers because I'm used to doing it with my fingers. Just be careful, just get some tongs or maybe even again use a spatula or something like that. So, firstly we're going to make it look quite presentable. I mean, if you're doing this for like a girlfriend, sister, mum, or like, you know, even if you're just trying to treat yourself, make it appetizing, make it look quite nice. We've got some nice colours going on, so you might as well. So we're going to take a couple of the nice, I mean they're just done, they're perfect, nice and a little bit crispy on the side. So we're going to kind of build a little grid going up. Again, use ones that have got a flat edge on the bottom. it'll just make it a little bit easier to build up. Now you don't have to do this time. I mean, if you're just doing it for yourself and it's a normal meal, then fine, by all means you don't have to do it. But if it's something special, you might as well go a little bit all out. Now, the rule is, chef rule is, everything in odd numbers. So, which is what I hate. I don't like odd numbers. They kind of scare me. But we've got 9 there, and it just, for some reason, it looks really nice at 9. Now, what we're going to do next, because I like to put the meat on the top. I don't like to hide that away. So, I've got some nice, just steamed broccoli. You can, I've just put it in the microwave. Nice and easy, couple of minutes, and it's done. And then, the pièce de résistance. A nice steak. Just on the side there. And as it's me, I do like the juices over it. That's totally optional. And there you have it. My steak and sweet potato meal, which is my favourite meal.